5:46, this is Greatest Hits Radio, getting very excited because it is Rick Wakeman time the other side of 6 o'clock. An all Rick Quest Christmas is on the way. And because of that, if you can get your verdicts in really, really smart, then we can get it all done and dusted before we get to the news at 6 o'clock, and then everything will be fabulous. That was a message on behalf of Holly and the production team.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Today's confession comes from Leslie. Leslie, thank you very much indeed. Father Simon, Brother Matt, Sister Holly, everybody. I feel the time has come to confess a heinous crime that dates back to when my twins were 4 years old and had just started school. I don't say too early to start school, don't you think? 4?
Hey, it's normally 5, isn't it?
We should have a chat about that anyway. We decided to sign up to the services of a well-known satellite TV provider. And one day in early October, while the children were at school, an engineer came round and fixed a dish to the side of our house. 3 o'clock, I collected my two from school and we walked back home. As we got closer, they noticed the strange addition to our house. "What's that, Mummy?" they asked.
In that voice.
I agree with my twin. What's that?
Oh, we're going to have both of them.
Gosh.
Right.
Their trusting little faces turned up to me. Well, Father Simon, to this day, I'm not quite sure where the lie that sprang to my lips came from. I'm normally pretty honest. I'm an accountant in the civil service and therefore doubly bound by professional standards that are very hot on honesty, integrity and that kind of thing. So I shocked myself when I heard myself say, "Oh, yes, that's so Santa can check if children are being naughty
Yes.
or nice." Their little eyes widened. "Really? Really?" said the other one. Well, I continued digging deeper. It's really difficult for Santa to check everyone these days. There are so many children in the world, and he and the elves are very busy making all the toys. So he's using modern technology to make life a little bit easier. Well, they were curious and horrified in equal measure. We quickly established that Santa can't actually see children all the time, but the dish picks up on the naughty or nice signals. And then I explained solar winds combined with electrons, protons, photons and magnetic plasma
Wow.
accelerate them all into the atmosphere
Yeah.
and beams them straight to the North Pole to be added to each child's record. Terrifying. So I finished, "You have to be really good between now and Christmas because otherwise Santa will know straight away."
Yeah.
I told my husband what I'd done and he thought it was a genius idea. Father Simon, the next 3 months were amazing. At the slightest hint of a sibling squabble or a twin tantrum, we only had to say, "Careful, the elves will know." Or maybe, "I think you know who's listening."
Ooh.
And once I said, "And what would Santa think of that word?"
Yeah.
I'd then point to the dish and everything returned to peaceful harmony, or terror as the case may be. It worked so well we repeated it for a few years until the children eventually worked out what the satellite dish did, aged about 15. Father Simon, I don't ask for
15.
forgiveness from my children. I believe that this and other examples of our parental deception has helped to foster a healthy skepticism and mistrust of authority, which has prepared them well for adult life.
Yep.
Instead, I seek forgiveness from the big man himself, Santa Claus, because, as everyone knows, Santa is omniscient and omnipresent and has no need to resort to modern gadgetry to do his excellent job. Also, I'm fairly sure Santa had already forgiven me because I've had some cracking presents since this incident. Better be on the safe side and make it formal. Okay, well, we're going to make it formal then, and that's today's festive confession from Leslie. Another, I know what Matt's going to do because he loves parental lie confessions, but Sister Holly goes first.
You know what? I think Father Christmas would be cool with this, to be honest. I think actually, you know what? It was a little white lie, but actually the children ended up working in harmony together. They weren't fighting, and so actually it was an overall good, I think. It was an overall good, and that's why maybe the Christmas spirit has got to my head, but that is why I'm going to forgive this one today.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Think so.
This is very, very strange. Maybe it's a thing for Christmas week. Brother from another...
It feels like the spirit of Christmas is overcoming Holly, doesn't it? I'm going to forgive as well. This reminds me of the smoke alarms. Whenever the red
Yes.
light is showing on your smoke alarm, that means Father Christmas is watching.
That's been
Better
used.
be on your best behaviour, kids. So yes, I'm definitely going to forgive. Magnetic plasma, does that exist? I don't think so.
Yes.
But that regardless, I'm definitely going to forgive.
I think
yes.
that's kind of Northern Lights territory.
Magnetic
Oh,
plasma.
wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, going to say that's made up.
I'm going to ask for some of that. I think I'd like to have a
Can I have half a pound of magnetic plasma, please?
Yes, it's probably illegal to own it, I would think, at home. Anyways, the people's verdict, please. It's probably too late for you to send in a festive. I mean, you can always, if you've got one, and
If it's really good.
yeah. But the people's verdict, as sharp as possible, please, because we'd like to get this all done before we get to the news at 6. Do you forgive Leslie, yes or no? 61054. First word is Simon. That's what's involved with getting the message to
Yeah.
Santa.
Yeah.
Anyway, Leslie wants forgiveness. What do we get?
Just about everyone is giving her forgiveness. Totally forgive this one, says Michelle in Swanage. I did the same with my little ones, but I said that Father Christmas knew who to give the presents to based on their school attendance. That got them out of bed in the morning. Steph in Guildford, forgiven. Everyone knows all parents are technically subcontractors for Father Christmas. They're there all year round to guide children onto the nice list. Paul isn't convinced, not forgiven. I thought parents were there to set a good example for kids, to always tell the truth. But Nick in Chesterfield, forgiven, no harm done. My dad used to tell me and my brother that Santa could dial into the upstairs phone and hear whatever we were talking about whenever he wanted. It meant for years we'd have to sneak off to the garden shed when we wanted to talk in private.
Thank you very much indeed. Another smart speaker handed out. Your confession, please, to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Sure that it is quite free, isn't it? I think it's actually...
Well, we can all enjoy Christmas for free, can't we? Yeah.
Have you tried going into Winter Wonderland recently?
Well,
Oh,
no.
Ka-ching. Anyway, but you're right. You can enjoy the natural things of nature out there for free. That's true. I don't think that's what Elton's talking about, though.
No, he's not.
What he means is buy my album. That's what
Yeah,
he's thinking.
well, fair enough.
So today's confession comes from William Brackett's Not My Real Name, Father Simon, Holy Collective, The Forgiving Matt, and the always not so forgiving Holly. Let me take you back to just before Christmas, 1984. I was 13. My parents asked, "What would you like for Christmas, sunshine?" And I knew money was...
Little threatening, but anyway.
I knew money was tight, and my parents were slightly criminally inclined. But I wanted a ZX81
remember that.
Spectrum computer.
Yeah,
Explain
yeah,
for the
yeah.
younger listeners.
So, very, very early computer, and the games on it were pretty primitive, but at the time you were like, oh, this is amazing.
Okay.
Okay, set the scene.
Right.
I knew I wouldn't get it, but it's what I wanted. And my mate David had one, so why couldn't I? Says petulant William. Around a week before the big day arrived, I got home from school. Under the Christmas tree, there was this box. A box about the same size as a ZX81 came in. Everyone was out, so I lifted the box. It weighed about the same as a ZX81.
Oh, no.
I could guess. I held the box up to the lounge light to see if I could see the print on the box through the wrapping paper. Unfortunately not. Do I rip the wrapping paper just enough to see what's on the box? I do. Do I unwrap the present and rewrap it again? I do that. Yes, I am going to do all of those things. It worked on previous Christmases when I've opened the annual various artists cassette album that I didn't really want. But no, this present was a lot bigger and very, very exciting. I would just have to be a little bit patient until the big day. Christmas Day arrives. I was the first one up at 6 a.m. I was keen to open my special present, so I made a few loud noises as to wake up the household. Well, it always goes down well first thing on Christmas morning.
Works.
When my sister and parents got downstairs all grumpy because someone had woken them up with loud barking noises, I dived under the tree and got my hands on my present. I was shocked. It was a ZX81 computer. What a surprise. I took it straight to my bedroom. I plugged it into my portable black and white television. I switched the computer on and... nothing. I screamed, of course I did. I screamed to my dad to come and help. He tried, but no, it was faulty. Naturally, I was super sad, very upset, and had the right old hump all day. My mum told me she'd bought the computer from a well-known department store, but this store was shut until the 27th of December. That terrible wait. Anyway, eventually, my mum and I took the computer back to the store when it reopened. The manager said, "Oh, yes, this isn't the first one we've had back today. We'll send it off to be fixed. I'll give you a refund in case we can't do anything." My mum took the 50 quid from the manager and we went home, but I was still a grumpy teenager. Around 2 weeks later, I went into the store to purchase the latest Shakin' Stevens 7-inch single for my paper round money. I saw the store manager and asked him, is my computer back yet? As we didn't have a phone at the time. Anyway, yes it is, he said, and I'm very, very happy. I told him I would be back very soon to collect it. Now, you can forget Roger Bannister doing his 4-minute mile. I ran 2 miles in 3 minutes, or so it seemed, to go and collect the 50 quid. I got home and everyone was out again, but I remembered my mum put all the money in the teapot at the back of the kitchen cupboard. I grabbed the money, and thanks to my new high-tech trainers that my uncle bought me for Christmas, I arrived back in the store in 30 seconds.
Yeah, I remember that.
I found the store manager, and off he went to collect the computer. He came back with a smile on his face and said, due to the inconvenience, we've upgraded you to the Plus model. Anyway, I don't know why he spoke like that, because he hadn't spoken like that before.
No, he didn't, no.
He passed on the new computer and left, but I still had £50 in my pocket. Well, what would you do, Father Simon? What would Matt do? What would Holly do?
Yeah, I know what I'd do.
Yeah, well, I know what I could buy. The latest computer game was Jet Set Willy.
Oh, remember that?
But then I'll need a cassette player, as in them days it was the way you loaded games onto a computer. So I ran out to the store. I went to the posher store, the one famous for selling books, stationery and records. I purchased the cassette player and game along with a chocolate bar, as I needed to get some energy back, obviously, before I sprinted off home. When I got home, I panicked. I mean, what have I done? I mean, what did... I got the player and the game. I still had £30 left. What do I tell my parents? I had a brand new cassette player. I had to make it look as used as possible. So I went to my room, took it out of its box and hid the box in the back of my wardrobe. I took out one of my sister's black crayons and I began to draw all over the cassette player to make it look old and used and battered, and I kicked it around a bit. Then I gave my parents £30 and said, the computer they got me was lower grade. So it only cost £20. My parents were over the moon. £30 was enough to feed the family of 4, plus the dog and the cat for a month in them days.
Yes, was it really?
This is before the war.
Pre-war, yeah.
Now, I'm not looking for forgiveness to my parents, as they were 30 quid up. I'm seeking forgiveness to the store for not telling them that I had to repay for the computer because I had the money, but I didn't volunteer it. What would you have done? Unfortunately, this store was Woolworths, and it no longer exists on the high street.
Right.
And to this day, I can't help but feel that I helped them go bust.
Yeah.
Because I didn't give them the 50 quid that I should have. I mean, essentially, what William done is very, very dishonest. He should definitely have said, that's very kind, and here's the money. I feel as though. What would you have done, Sister Holly?
Yeah, well, I would have fessed up, and I would have said, actually, no, actually, I need to give you this money back because obviously you've given me a new computer game, which is fantastic.
An
you gave me the money
upgraded
back,
one.
an upgraded one. So actually, it was still a win-win, even if he had given the money, which he should have done. And the fact is, well, that Woolworths is gone, and really, it's all William's fault. Frankly, it's basically all down to
like
him,
you.
and people like William, and that's why I'm not going to forgive the dishonesty there. Not good.
I mean, of course, the right thing to do is to say, we owe you some money.
Yeah.
But of course, the honest answer here is that we'd have all done exactly the same as William. We'd have all gone, oh, right, okay, looks like it's money in my pocket, and I'm off to buy. Do you remember having to play games where you have to load them on a cassette player? Goodness me, Jet Set Willy. That has taken me back. So Manic Miner, everyone. Wow. So for that reason alone, taking me back, I'm going to forgive. Just for the memories
Of Jet Set
Jet Set
Willy.
Willy, Manic Miner and the rest
What
of
did
them.
you have to do with Jet Set Willy?
It was like a platform game where you
All right, I've heard
moved
enough.
across the
Okay,
screen.
so what do you
Fabulous
think?
day.
Does William get forgiven? Yes or no? It's entirely down to you. It's the people's verdict. He's desperate for Christmas forgiveness, but I think he's been basically dishonest. Holly's been stern. Matthew's been forgiving. Same as it ever was. It's entirely down to you for the people's verdict. 61054. First word is silent. Just before the news, we had a fine confession from William, not my real name, and how his Spectrum ZX computer was responsible for the complete loss of Woolworths on the high street. Here's the people's verdict.
So Hannah says, I agree with Matt. William is totally forgiven. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, which is what we're having for dinner tonight. Ian
Can I
from
just say,
Philby.
that's a terrible argument.
Is it really?
No, there's no logic behind it. Just because they're having dinner
Yes.
and it's chicken,
Yes.
therefore they're going to forgive.
Yes.
Because they agree with you.
Makes sense to me.
Nonsense.
Ian from Thirlby says, "Hi, Simon, Matt and Holly. I forgive William because Woolworths refunded him his money as a gesture of goodwill. And by repairing the computer, this was all done as an act of goodwill. It's the way to get future custom. I don't think William can be blamed for Woolworths' downfall." And finally, Hugh in Cardiff points out, completely forgiven, but only for the reason that I think he had a ZX Spectrum 48 and not a ZX81. There wasn't a Plus version of the ZX81, and the 48 Plus really wasn't very good.
Right.
So for that reason alone,
Thanks.
he should be forgiven.
Who was that from?
That's from Hugh in Cardiff. Well done, Hugh.
Hugh in Cardiff in technical support.
Yes, thanks, Hugh.
Thanks. Leave your phone number. We'll give you a call if we need more information. If you have a confession, send it in. We'll be using it in the new year. Lots of exciting confessions product for you very shortly. Send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Right, 5:45. Well, stand by for another Christmas confession. And what this one is an interesting example of, I think, is even though it's not particularly, it's mildly shocking, but it's an anonymous
Right.
confession. Even after many, many decades, it comes from the guilty baker.
Ooh.
Okay, that's all we can say. And I should say that if you're eating,
There's a warning.
here is your festive warning. Guilty Baker says, "Father Simon, Brother Matt, Sister Holly, and the hopefully all-forgiving collective. My confession dates back many years to the early 90s, when I was a newly married young thing, very keen to try out all kinds of domestic arts. The one I turned out to be rather good at was cake decorating. Consequently, I was in some demand in the run-up to Christmas. I didn't charge for my cakes, as I made them for friends and family, but almost everyone recognized the cost of the ingredients and my time and would give me a little something in exchange for their decorated cake. And that was the problem. Almost everyone. You see, my mother-in-law, Maureen, is a very well-off woman. Never particularly scrupulous, however, about remembering to reimburse me, despite knowing that we were newly married and had lots of demands on our early career salaries. So after a few years of the contribution slipping her mind, I was getting a bit fed up. But she already didn't like me very much, so I didn't feel I could stop making her the cake that she now expected every Christmas, nor mention the fact that a few pounds towards it would be quite welcome. Thank you very much, Maureen. No, not paying again? Okay, thanks very much. You carry on, wealthy woman. That year, I was feeling deeply unfestive as I put a layer of marzipan on top of the large cake I'd carefully made for her in October, which had been maturing away and regularly fed with brandy ever since. I had left hers till last, and all the others I'd made were already in new homes, grateful homes. A little nice monetary contribution given to me in exchange. That's only fair. Still nursing my grudge, as you can probably tell.
Yes.
I put the cake onto the dining room table, so the marzipan would begin to dry before I iced it. Now, I should probably have mentioned before that we have 2 cats. My mother-in-law absolutely hated both of them and made no secret of the fact. She used to edge around the pair of them as if convinced they were going to attack her. I wish they had done. Not long.
Okay.
I say that in the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, obviously,
Wow.
yeah.
Not long after I put the cake in the dining room, I heard a strange noise and I went to investigate. What I found was the largest of my 2 cats, with his front paws on the top of the cake, thoughtfully licking the marzipan.
Ooh.
Quite thoroughly. I mean, really quite thoroughly. By the time I shooed him away and took a look at the damage, there was a really very large wet patch on the top of the cake. Cat dribble, Father Simon, at least I think that's what it was.
Oh, dear.
But to be perfectly honest, I couldn't be absolutely sure. From the cat that had just been out in the garden, on the kill, and licking itself all over, it had just been a lick in the cake.
Yeah.
See why I gave the little word?
Yes, he did, yeah.
So I was faced with the dilemma. Of course, I knew the right thing was to strip off the layer of marzipan and cat spit, whatever it was, and replace it with a fresh lot. But I didn't have any. I didn't have any more in the house at all, because it was my last cake, as I think I might have mentioned. So I'd have to go out and buy some more, and I'd already spent a small fortune on a cake that I wasn't going to be reimbursed for. When I said it was a dilemma, it wasn't really. What I did was to take a damp piece of kitchen towel and dab on the marzipan, a little cursory dab, and then I shook some icing sugar on top just to dry it off. A useful tip. Once it dried, you'd never have known, and I went on to ice the cake in the usual way, handing it over to my mother-in-law just before Christmas. I did feel a tiny bit guilty, but then, once again, she didn't offer to contribute any money, so I have to admit the guilt didn't last very long. But it's Christmas, Father Simon, you might have noticed. And I need forgiveness for knowingly giving my mother-in-law a Christmas cake lightly seasoned with cat spit and other things. It was wrong, of course, but on the other hand, everyone who ate the cake was absolutely fine and even said it was one of my best. Relations between me and my mother-in-law have thawed a little over the years, until now, but probably not enough to survive this, which is why I would like to remain anonymous. I await the verdict of you and your collective with trepidation. My festive tip: icing sugar absorbs all cat fluids.
Oh, does it though?
You're welcome. Well, have you tried it? I mean, would you know?
No, I haven't tried it.
But I think that's quite this is like public service broadcasting. If you need to mop up the fluids of a cat, feline fluids, in fact, then icing sugar is what you need.
Okay.
I'm going to publish a handbook of my
Really?
household tips.
Yeah, sure.
Sister Holly.
Yeah, I don't like this confession for numerous reasons, really. Firstly, why do you expect money when you're giving these as gifts? Like, if you're starting off and you're decorating these cakes as gifts and then you're going, oh, and then they always give me money. Oh, and she didn't give me any money, but I thought that this was a gift. Isn't that how gifts work? So then don't make the cakes then. If you're expecting money, don't make the cakes then. And secondly, it's just really gross and disgusting. It's just sick and wrong leaving the icing on the cake when it's been licked by a cat. No.
Sick and wrong is one of your
Sick and
favourite.
wrong.
It is one of my favourite phrases, and it perfectly sums this one up, and that's why I'm not forgiving.
Sick and wrong, Brother Matt.
Yes, well, I'm qualifying on both counts there. I'm going to say I suspect she left the cake in the room with the cats deliberately, hoping that something might happen between little Tabby's and the marzipan. But the fact is, she'd run out of marzipan. There was no more marzipan. She'd run out of all. So mother-in-law was either going to get no cake or cake with a bit of cat spit and some icing sugar over the top of it. And I think we both know which one mother-in-law would have wanted. It was the cake that she got, that she refuses to pay any money for. Everyone else is giving her something in return. Why aren't you, Maureen? So for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Well, it was a gift, so basically she should...
Yeah, but we all give gifts on the understanding that
You're gonna get
something
paid.
might be coming the other way.
that-
Might be a
yeah,
bit,
who
might
does
be
that?
a gift coming the other way. Might there, Maureen? No.
Sadly not. Anyway, it's People's Verdict. Please do you forgive the guilty baker? On the text, please, 61054. First word is Simon. We just had a confession just before the news, which involved a Christmas cake, an ungrateful mother-in-law, a cat with no moral compass,
Yes.
or control of its fluids.
No.
That's essentially where we were. Was there forgiveness, Matthew?
Well, Sue from Watford says, I agree with Holly. Not forgiven, sick and wrong. We cannot forgive this. But Tim from Sutton says, of course forgiven. Look at all the pet owners we have in this country who are often graced with affectionate dog and cat licks. No one died, so Merry Christmas one and all. And Kit Kat in Edinburgh says, totally forgiven. I've been manipulated into making cakes over the years. They're very expensive, so a small reciprocal contribution would be welcome. Next time, I'm leaving mine out for the dog to investigate.
Exactly, like you were suggesting, maybe the whole thing was deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you have a confession for the new year, we would love to receive it, please, and exchange it for a smart speaker if we use it on air. Send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Well, it's confession time, and thank you very much for all the festive confessions. Obviously, we'll be looking for brand new ones, so if you've got some confessions to send us for the new year, stuff that doesn't involve tinsel or presents or Christmas tree or Santa or something like that, send them to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. What an exciting year it's going to be for confessions, by the way, just saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen to the tone of Holly's voice.
Yes.
Today's confession comes from, bizarrely, it's signed DJ Not.
DJ
Not.
Not.
Not as in tyre knot.
N-O-T.
Not a
As
DJ.
in N-O-T.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Not.
Okay. DJ Not.
DJ Not.
As in, yeah. Father Simon and the Kind Collective, I seek forgiveness. I cannot carry the burden of guilt any longer. My confession goes back to 1979. Moving from Kent, I went to Portsmouth Poly, and there I met a girl from Middlesbrough. I should just call her by the letter K. Capital K, Kicking Kerr.
Kicking Kerr.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just
One for the primary school kids.
don't know where that came from. I remembered. She lived in the next hall, did Kay. We shared a love of music and we got on famously. After 1 year, I dropped out of college, having realised I had no idea why I'd gone there in the first place. Okay, well, that's a good reason for dropping out, I suppose. But Kay stayed on. She got a degree, and despite this being pre-mobile, pre-internet days, we stayed in contact with letters and the odd weekend. I got a job in the city, and Kay moved into a house share that had an actual phone, and she wrote to me with the phone number. Wow. We had made contact. A while later, this plan was hatched. Working late on an early December evening, my colleague Pete gave her a call on this number, pretending to be a DJ from a London radio station and that she was about to go live on air in a quiz. Being originally from the north and now living in Portsmouth, Kay had no way of knowing what this DJ sounded like or any way of listening to the station in these pre-digital days. DJ Rog explained that her name and number had been put forward for a chance to win a luxury Christmas holiday to the West Indies. This was an incredible holiday for 1980. Well, it's
Yes,
pretty good.
not bad
for
now.
Yeah.
Any year, really. And all she had to do was to answer 3 very tricky music questions for a chance of a 2 weeks holiday in a 5-star, all-expenses-paid hotel and a private beach, and she could take a friend. I had set the questions. One was about a 10cc album track. The other was about the band Free, but ones I knew she'd be able to answer. Sure enough, she answered the first 2 correctly. She got very, very excited. Building the tension, DJ Rog came to the final crunch question. It came, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was an obscure question about 1960s British trad jazz and about a particularly obscure banjo player who featured in some of the obscure 1960s British trad jazz albums.
Okay, first time this has come up. Yeah, go on.
I got it from the back of an album cover in a record shop the other day. Anyway, not a hope. She was gutted. She got the question hopelessly wrong. She had absolutely no idea. Was she going on the luxury holiday? No, she wasn't. Was she going to be able to take one person? No, she was not. She missed a chance. DJ Rog was very kind, but the competition would move on to the next contestant. Anyway, so the DJ picked up her address whilst a record played on air and sent her a huge bunch of flowers for being such a good contestant, and Kay later told me of her amazing near miss and the lovely flowers that she had. She told all her fellow students of the call, and I know that Kay dined out on this story for years, how she was 1 question away from the Christmas holiday of a lifetime. I humbly beg forgiveness for falsely raising the hopes of a poor student who couldn't afford a day trip to the Isle of Wight, never mind a 5-star treatment in the West Indies, and for never letting on that it was a wind-up with a mate called Pete, who was brilliant in the role of the DJ, which obviously a role of high skill.
Very much so.
Now, the collective forgiveness of your ministry is particularly important to me. I really need you behind me. In fact, it's essential. It might be life-saving. This will be the first time that Kay knows the truth.
Oh, dear.
After all these years. You see, she is my wife. We have been married for 38 years with 2 fabulous daughters and 2 gorgeous granddaughters. We'll be in the kitchen right now listening together. Please have mercy. She
really
knows nothing of this.
Oh.
You would think after nearly 4 decades of married life,
Yeah, it would have come up.
it would have come up, but people are strange, in the words of
Iron Maiden. No.
The Cure.
Oh, The Cure. Did they say that as well?
Let's say
no.
they both
Them
did.
and Iron Maiden. Let's say that. Yeah.
Anyway, so this strikes me as, I mean, there's now it's a strange as people, is there? And there's a strange relationship here. Here's something that's mildly amusing, and in 40 years, he hasn't actually got the nerve to tell Kay, which is probably short for K, is what I'm guessing. Which is a very strange thing indeed. But let's see whether there's any festive forgiveness coming your way. I mean, it's all fine in the end, except that I don't like anyone impersonating a DJ.
Yeah, that must never happen.
No, can't be doing that.
It's a highly skilled job. Not anyone can do.
So true.
Oh, okay, most people.
No, I just don't like this. I just don't like the fact that it was just a sort of a cruel trick, really. Like, because they knew from the start she wasn't gonna. Obviously, she was never gonna win the holiday. It didn't exist. But also, she wasn't gonna get all the questions right. So her hopes were crushed. For what reason? For what purpose? How was this funny? Did you just sit there and laugh with your mate Peter and just think, oh, this is really funny? How's that funny? I don't think it is. And so for that reason, I'm not going to forgive. And also, you should have told her. The fact you haven't told her, I think, is really bad.
I think Holly's taking it very, very seriously.
I am.
Brother from another...
You know, I would go along with Holly on most of that. Number one, what was the point of this quiz?
Yeah.
What were you hoping was going to happen as a result of it? Number one, it would have been very funny if she had known the answer. And then even funnier if she'd said, and the person I'd like to take on this holiday is not you, boyfriend, some other bloke. That would have been very funny. However, what we're missing out here is that Kicking K didn't kick him out, did she? Kicking K decided instead that this was the man she was going to settle down with and have lovely children and lovely grandchildren. And in the end, didn't they all win in a way? And this spirit of Christmas, isn't that the message that we should be taking from this little story? I think it is. So for that reason, I'm going to forgive.
Very, very strange priestly voice.
It was, wasn't it?
61054 on the text. First word is Simon. Today's confession just before the news was a tale of fake holidays, fake DJs, fake competitions, but true love. What was the verdict?
Well, forgiven, says Louise from Hull. This is just hilarious. Me and my partner have played silly pranks on each other for years. I'm sure it's something they will be in stitches over in their kitchen. Veronica in Yarm, though, says not forgiven. Holly's right. And also, what is the point of it, as Matt said? What about if she'd won? That would have been so cruel.
I agree with Matt.
But Peggy in Stoke-on-Trent says forgiven. This is something my husband would do to me. Kiss, kiss. Thanks very much, Peggy.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you have a confession, go on, send it to us. Start the new year in grand style with one of those lovely smart speakers, all shiny and new. Send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk.